Hello tacticians, it's Nox here, and today we're going to be looking at the brand new unit, Azkor, the Exalted 8-bound. But before we go into him, I would like to say my usual thank yous, and today they go to Flowy Tom, Gorechosen, kind of appropriate, Garnock, Thorax, and Ippy. All of you have used my friend code and it is very much appreciated, as it helps me keep on top of, well, pretty much everything. So, thank you once again. And now, let's look at Azkor. So let's start by working with the obvious. First of all, he is a World Eater, and of course he gets the blessings of Khorne, as you'd expect. Next up is a trait we haven't seen used very often, and that's Demon. So he has a 25% chance to block up to 50% of its own current damage stat. So you really want to get him geared up to help him survive getting hit. Next up, he has the Resilient trait, and we've seen this before, and on this character I think it is going to be very good indeed, as he's going to be tough to kill, as it is. Then, if all that protection wasn't enough, he also has Terrifying, which means he takes less damage from melee attacks. And finally, he is Unstoppable, which means he can go across fire, razor wire, and broken ice without stopping. This is one heck of a character. And obviously, by looking at the character, he has no ranged attacks. He only has the new Eviscerate attack, where he has 2 hits. So what about his stats? Well, I've included the usual breakpoints here of silver, gold, and diamond stats, along with the relative star levels. So feast your eyes on those and decide where you're going to take him. But what about the skills? And all I can say is this guy is going to be seen a lot in the TA and Guild Wars. First of all, his active, overwhelming wrath. Until the beginning of his next turn, Azkor taunts all adjacent enemies and then takes, at level 26, 48% less damage from ranged attacks. He then deals 2 lots of eviscerating damage to all adjacent enemies at the beginning of his next turn, assuming he's alive. But remember, he also has the Terrifying trait, so he's going to be taking 30% less damage from melee attacks as well. At the various other skill levels, as they go up, basically the amount of damage is reduced and the amount of damage he does is also increased. So you're going to want to run him in to face as many people as possible. So that seems pretty good. What about his passive? Beacon of Rage. For each time he was attacked in battle, up to a maximum of 8 times of course, Azkor deals more damage. If Azkor has defeated an enemy in battle, then 50% of the damage granted by Beacon of Rage is added to the damage of melee attacks of adjacent friendly Chaos units. Very nice indeed. And as this goes up, the maximum time obviously remains 8, but the amount of damage added does go up quite a bit. This sort of damage will even make a mediocre damage dealer like Toph into a murdering machine. And of course, if that bonus damage wasn't enough, remember, he deals more damage for each time a unit has been defeated in battle as well, again up to that maximum of 8 times because of the Blessings of Khorne. So this guy's damage is going to be going through the roof. But enough about all the stats. Let's see him in action. As with all new characters, I like to see if they can withstand a shot from Calendus. That was a big hit with a crit, and there's not much life left. And when you consider there's high ground, he will only be left with 1 health, and that is because of the Resilient trait. So whilst technically he is alive, he's not in the best of shape. Now the question is, will that same Resilient trait help if you charge into combat with Rayvas? Now first of all we'll get into combat, and they actually survive, and I'm guessing this is because of a combination of the Demon trait and Terrifying. So now let's see what happens when he doesn't get within combat range. And the result is as we expect, there's nothing left. So we've seen his survivability at being shot. What's he like in combat? So what we're going to do, we're going to put him in combat with these 3 and make a mental note of the numbers. And we'll put Toph and Rask in combat too. Again, we're going to see what changes for them after Azkor actually kills someone. So we're going to use his overwhelming wrath to taunt all 3 and skip our turn, just to prove that these guys can now no longer attack anyone else apart from Azkor, which is of course what Azkor wants. And there is his retaliation, doing decent damage against Thaddeus and Aleph Null. But what we're going to do, we're going to kill off Thaddeus, and the benefit goes on to Toth and Rask. So now, instead of only doing about 116 damage, Toth's damage actually goes up to 178. So as you level this ability up, even weak damage dealers like Toth will be very useful indeed, especially in those legendary events. And unfortunately we can't see the additional benefit to Rask because he just ends up killing Aleph Null. But this really does show the power of the overwhelming wrath, being able to lock down a couple of units so they can't really do anything, and indeed the beacon of rage if you're using other chaos units to support him. Overall, I think this is a great character to start collecting if you are a new player. He will help you out in the chaos campaigns. He has a resilient trait, which is useful in some of the legendary events, and he's going to be very useful in the tournament arena and the guild wars. So overall, definitely try and unlock this character at the rare rarity for the new players. For experienced players, of course, we're all going to want to get him. His one downside is he's not going to alter what we take into the guild raids. Overall, he is a great addition to the World Eaters, and I can't wait to see him on the battlefield. If you like these videos, then it would be much appreciated if you at least think about using my friend code, as it really does help me out. Or if you or your guilds are looking for a new home, please reach out to any of the guilds shown, as we'll always welcome new people into our midst. As always, don't forget to like, comment and subscribe, and I'll be seeing you on the battlefield.